Welcome along to this edition of Byte High No Limit. This episode is a special. It's a live recording of the Teletext Sofa Club. It was held at the same weekend as Mr. Biffo's Digitiser 30 at the Harrow Arts Centre. So without any further ado, join me and Dan Farrimond, who was coming in live via telephone from Wigan. Hello, everyone say hello to Dan, who is in Wigan.
Hello everybody in Harrow.
That's it. So, is that raining where you are?
Always.
Excellent. Well, if to everybody that doesn't know, and hopefully there's a lot of people that don't know that are new to the Teletext Sofa podcast that we do through the YouTube channel, is that Dan is the co-host of the Teletext Sofa Club podcast, so he is here. He has to be here, or otherwise it just doesn't happen. So it's very kind of him to come along. And today we will have some guests as well, so it'll be very good. So just recently started a podcast. I'm fairly new to all this, and I'm picking up some brand new shows. And obviously, as you go around, you start picking up some new people that you don't often listen to. So it's been a great pleasure to start listening to the Wolfie pod. So today I'd like to introduce Jason and Rick. So if you come up and give them a big Sofa Club welcome. Lovely. Well, I just might have to grab your microphone.
I'm just seeing if I can point a mic at the phone so we get a bit more volume.
Yeah, okay,
So
right.
Use that one for them.
Okay,
This
yeah.
is for your co-host that's not here.
Yeah, there we
This
go.
could go horrendously
Yeah.
wrong.
Right, okay, lovely.
Hello.
Yes, okay, so I'm going to sit down because the nerves kicked in. Right, okay, so which one's Jason?
Hello, my name's Jason.
Okay, and you must be
Rich.
Okay, and you run a podcast called What's Wrong with Wolfie, is that right?
We do, yes.
Lovely, okay, so the name What's Wrong with Wolfie, is it a podcast all about Citizen Smith?
No, it's a pop culture podcast where we when we first started the podcast, we wanted just to go through the 90s, 1 year at a time. So that's what we did, wasn't it?
We did indeed, yep.
We just did a film, a TV show, and then a video game from each year, and then we just moved on to the next year. So we managed to do that. We managed to get through the whole of the 90s, and we were a bit like, okay, what should we do now? And so we just decided to broaden it out. We went to the 80s, into the 90s, and into the zeros, and now we're just a bit more freeform, and we just kind of dedicate one episode to a film or a TV show or something like that.
Oh, okay, I see. So I came across the podcast first of all because you did an interview with Paul Rose a little while back, yeah?
Yeah, we had Mr. Biffo on a couple of years ago now, wasn't it?
Yeah, we did indeed, yep.
And that was a bit of a fluke, really, because we were just mucking around on Twitter, or X, sorry. And,
X.
Yeah. X. And I think I just tagged Mr. Biffo in a tweet and said, we should get Mr. Biffo on to talk about it. And then he replied and said, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
As Mr. Biffo would say.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So were you two avid Teletext users yourself back in the day?
Oh, yeah, big time.
Yeah, I definitely was. I mean, going right back to the very beginning, my sister had the first TV in the house that was Teletext capable, so every day after school, come home, sit on her floor while she's still at work, read Digitiser, read Planet Sound, play some Bamboozle. So, yeah, all the way to the end I was using it on the daily. So, yeah, it's nice to see it still in the hearts of people now, and there's obviously, pushes to keep it, to restore it, bring it back to prominence.
Yeah, so it's always quite impressive how it, how the scene is still out there restoring things. I mean, we got in the crowd there, we got a couple of people who have restored the Digitiser service, and it's gone out into great prominence as well. And So were you also a great fan of Teletext as well?
Yeah, mate. And funny enough, like everything that Rich said, I used it for, but obviously for the football schools as well was a big thing for me. It was the best way to find out what the latest scores were going to be, and I think just one of the biggest memories that stick in my brain is waiting for the page to reload or refresh for the next one, waiting for my team to show up. It's just to see if they'd scored the next goal to be winning the game and such. And it was quite exciting, really, just watching the TV, waiting for the pages to reload, just on that in itself.
Absolutely, it'd be like the refresh of optimism, because obviously it'll be sort of like you'll be 2-0 down, and then all of a sudden go out and make a cup of tea, and you're going, sure, that's a glitch. We haven't scored 2 goals in such a short time.
Exactly, yeah. So it was really cool doing that, and obviously Bamboozle and Digitizer and all that kind of stuff was it was just really cool. And it's just so, I don't know, like it kind of like leaves your brain, I guess, like as we've grown up, and it's kind of faded away a little bit, I guess, and it's really cool, like where we've kind of rediscovered it recently, I guess, and the love and the passion that's still there for Teletext and CFAX and all that kind of stuff, and it's just been really cool to revisit it all again. And we got a page on Chunky Text for the podcast.
Yeah, so Chunky Text is a service that we're running through the thing, which can be viewed anywhere, and it's we're showcasing a lot of other podcasts and projects and passions that are coming through. So go back into the suite after this at some point and do check it out. It's really good, isn't it?
It is really cool, and like it was so cool just to see like our names in a Teletext page. Wasn't it? It was quite weird and surreal.
Yeah, I did send some pictures to my mum. I was like, hey, like 25 years later, your boy's on Teletext. So she was very, very proud. So,
well, you're not the only people that have got that pride, because I think Fran Healy and a few other like famous. Oh, okay, yeah, and a few other famous musicians. That was the only way they used to do the interviews with Teletext, just so that their parents knew that they were doing well. So that still follows. That's really good. So one other podcast that you did was the one where what's the name of the WhatsApp guy that you
What's up?
The WhatsApp, not WhatsApp. WhatsApp guy. Does anyone remember WhatsApp? So these guys managed to get a good coup on an interview with them, and it was a really good interview. So how did you manage to get hold of such an obscure guest, really?
I was going to say, yeah.
Go.
You did the work.
Oh, okay, thanks. Well, it all led from the Chris Moore show on Radio X, actually. He has a feature on there called Who Am I? And they get a mystery guest on, and then they've got to guess who it is from just all the questions they ask. And it turned out to be Dookie from the WhatsApp adverts back from the 90s. And I was like, do you know what? That would be a really cool person to talk to. Because, like, it was such a cultural phenomenon when those adverts aired. And, like, it seems to have been kind of forgotten recently. Like, it kind of has been forgotten, and it hasn't, because it's still so much in the zeitgeist. Like, people still go, what's up? And all that kind of stuff. But never really heard from the people that were behind the adverts. So I thought it'd be really cool to try and like approach him and see if he would come on the show. So I sent him a message on Facebook, and I didn't expect to hear anything back at all. But he came back and said, yeah, that'd be cool. I'd love to come on and talk about the WhatsApp adverts and how they came to be, and the kind of like what it was like to live in the aftermath of the adverts airing. And it was really interesting chat, actually. And like we learned that he'd also been like he'd been like a bouncer at clubs in Philadelphia, and like the kind of life that he led doing all that kind of stuff, and like, you know, dealing with drug dealers and gangsters and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of like to get him back on, because we kind of ran out of time. There was so much to talk about with him that we didn't really touch upon that too much, because he was also like an owner of a video rental store in Philadelphia, and we kind of touched upon that, not really knowing what we'd get back, but did we? But he came back with some really cool, like, interesting stories about running this kind of like video rental store, and like being like a backbone of the community. Really, it was not also about going in and being able to rent videos. It was also about being part of the community there, and just for a place for the people there to come and hang out and such.
There was a really interesting story about that on the podcast, so I hope you don't mind me sort of telling everyone.
No.
But, they used to have like the local drug dealer used to go in and get his videos, and used to get quite a few, and then do time, and then return them back when he finished his prison sentence with the late due fees. But also the undercover cop that probably nicked him as well, who was used to hire the videos. It was as if there was a truce when they used to come and rent their movies. So it was really quite interesting stuff.
Yeah, he said that he'd disappear for like a couple of weeks, and he'll just come back, pay the late fees, and then take some more videos. And then he asked what he was doing. He said, "Yeah, I'm kind of like, I can't remember what the organisation was, but he a DEA agent or something, wasn't it?"
Yes.
Yeah, and he says, "Yeah, I'm a DEA agent, so I have to go around the world and do all this spy stuff, and so your videos just some kind of entertainment in between." So
while he's snaking people out. So yes, that's brilliant. Well, thank you very much for joining us today on the Sofa Club. Dan, have you got any questions?
Yeah, are you actually sitting on the sofa right now?
We are. Yes, we are.
Oh, for the first time on Sofa Club, there is a sofa.
Yeah, and it's shame you're not here for it, Dan. But yeah, there's a space for you, just about. You could squeeze right in at the end. You're a smaller chap than us. Oh right, okay. It's like Eurovision, isn't it? Okay, lovely. Well, no one leaves empty-handed.
Oh.
Because there's two of you, you're going to have to share one bottle of Nigerian Fanta.
Oh.
So
That's fine.
if everybody wants to give Richard and Jason a really big hand, and thank you very much for stepping in and doing
thank you.
doing the interview.
Thank you, everyone.
Right, where can we get your podcast? Please broadcast it out so we can all follow.
So you can get it on all normal major podcast apps. We're on YouTube as well. You can go to thewolfiepod.com and also at the Wolfie Pod on X and your favourite social media platforms.
That's it. Well, which are many now. We've got Blue Sky, Threads, Mastodon, all sorts really. There's loads out there, isn't there?
Indeed.
Yeah, there's a plethora of that. So, it's brilliant. Thank you very much again, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
Is there a Q&A section for these guys?
Well, yeah, we can put some questions out there. We can leave you there with the mic. Does anyone else want to ask a question about what's wrong with Wolfie podcast? Actually, we didn't actually say why your podcast is called that, did we? No. All right, so I'm going to give you the mic back there. Just a second now. So, yes.
When we came to try and name the podcast, we took ages to try and come up or nail a name. Trying to do all the normal, the 90s magic pod, or I don't know, stupid names like that. But Rich came up with the idea of why don't we just try and name it after an obscure line from a movie or something. So that's what we did. I don't know if anyone in the audience picks up on what that line is.
Okay, right, I'm going to go over there. Right, okay, who said yes?
I did.
It's
from Terminator 2.
It's from Terminator 2. It's what's wrong with Wolfie? I can hear him barking.
Perfect.
But the dog's called Max.
The dog's called Max, yeah. Get
Exactly.
it, you piece of shit.
And that's why I always sign up the podcast, retro podcast to the max.
Oh, I see, yeah, to the max. That's the thing. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for that. Lovely job. Cheers. All right, okay, right. Everyone shut your eyes because the next guest is coming in. He's going to come in really ready. Okay, right, okay. So, here, we got to pretend that we're just doing something else, and that's...
Alright, it's dressed in black. Nobody will notice.
It's Jason Black.
No. Nobody will notice.
No, not at all. So, okay, well...
Put the light on. See what happens. Remote.
Yeah, I've got the remote. Does your head grow out your thigh? Okay, right. This is a jump cut, by the way, because when this goes out on the internet, you wouldn't see me bullshitting filling in space. So that'd be quite good. It'd be like jump cut. Which one?
The light, all with lights.
Lights. Colour. Try the power button. There you go. Oh, right. Tonight, Matthew, I'm going to be Jason. Round of applause for Jason. Welcome aboard. Grab yourself a mic. Lovely. Friend of the show, so obviously I don't have to ask him about his first Teletext experiences, although I know you'd love to ask, but they are available online. So, nice to meet you, mate.
Thank you very much.
Right.
There is actually a sofa.
There is. It's a sofa, and well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to do Teletext, but we do have one. So, congratulations. What was it that you actually attained?
A Masters in Astrophysics.
Yeah, rocket scientist. So
Yeah,
take a
that's
seat, please, mate.
Thank you very
Lovely, thank you very much. So for anybody who doesn't know, this is Jason, and Jason is the Grim Fandango. He is the Teletext archaeologist, Lauren Laverne's secret love interest, and also he has got... Oh, by the way, say hello to Dan, who's in the corner there. Hello, Dan.
Hello, I'm in the corner. Hello, I'm here. Hello.
Magic of internet. He's actually there. It's not
Hello,
sound.
Dan.
Dan's the sandbar.
Take it well. Yeah.
There's a bit of a delay. He's just up. Okay, so Jason has.
Hello, welcome to the Sofa Club.
Is this by satellite to Wigan? Is there?
Yeah, it is by satellite.
Is it satellite
yeah,
delay?
well, yeah, for as long as my poor little phone copes. So, but Jason does a lot with other people. It's not just Jason, and Jason would be the first to admit this, but he does a lot of Teletext recoveries. A lot of recoveries that were used last night in the presentation were from Jason, and some of the untidy ones actually, because they left a few J's and Y's in, I think, which I know that everybody loved who does it all. But the latest update is that Jason has now... I'll let him explain his latest development on his website. So, what can you tell us, Jason?
About the archive?
The archive, yes.
Yeah, the archive. I've been recovering teletext pages since 2012, so quite a long time. So, what am I going to do with all these? So, I wrote a website to put them on, and that's recently had an update. That's on teletextarchive.com. So there's about 2,500 services so we got there. There's, I think 2 million pages. So that would keep you good for a while to go through those. People all over the world uploading pages to that. Yeah, it's going pretty well.
But the most marvellous thing about it now, it's got a search bar in it.
Yeah, so you can search yourself.
So you can actually type in stuff and it will bring stuff up. But my God, there's a lot of stuff that it brings up. You've got to be very specific. You type in Planet Sound and it gets every mention of Planet Sound on every page from every service, and it's quite mad. You end up going to like page 5 for the first thing you found, but it's absolutely brilliant on how that's done. So, what's the main struggles of keeping that up and running? Is it sort of like is it a lot to maintain?
Well, it just runs itself most of the time. It's just hosting costs really. So, but yeah, it's nice to when you talk about being able to search on there. So you can just do a text search. But people Google themselves on there who've written letters to Teletext years and years ago and things. It helps people find stuff that they contributed a long time ago when we still had Teletext. And that's what's one of the nice things about recovering Teletext is that you can return the art to the artist. That's what we did with the digitizer. Is that because Teletext is a very transient medium. It was broadcast, and then once it was broadcast, that was it. It was just deleted and it was gone. Nobody ever saw it again. And I think Paul wishes that would be the case sometimes on some of the digitizer pages. But it was nice to be able to recover them and send them back to him. And for a while he put them onto the website. But there's just so much of it that. It now goes on to super page 58 instead, so we've got quite a percentage of digitizers now recovered from Teletext, haven't we? So it's nice to return the art to the artist, so it's nice to give Paul his pages back.
No, absolutely. So when you were saying about hosting costs and all that, does that actually cost you a few quid to keep that up and running?
It's about 500 quid a year, so it's Not too bad.
Is that a passion project? So you're going to have Surfshark in the corner at any point?
No, it's just there's no advertising, no nothing. It's all out of my own pocket. I must be mad.
That's it. But no, hats off to you for doing it. It's been, and it's really good that you do. Does anybody else have any questions to Jason in the audience? Help me out here, guys. Come on.
Go on, Cole. It's not like a mild work.
No, I am, no. They don't want to keep hearing my voice. But if there's any questions at all, just put the hand up. Oh, there's a hand up at the back, so I'll just go
down the front, see if you have to run.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, of course. Yeah, come in, sir.
No, it's fine. Is there a holy grail recovery? Something which you've not been able to recover so far, but it exists, might be out there?
Yeah, we do have a list. One of them was the close down of Oracle when it switched into Teletext Limited. But we actually found that one, so that's one we've crossed off. I think what I would really like to find is that when CFAX first started in the sort of mid-70s, it was a very sort of small affair. There weren't many pages, there weren't many staff, and there weren't many people who could actually watch Teletext at all. Virtually no one had sets. And what the first editor of CFAX used to do, he had a sort of a special page that his wife knew about, so that she could dial up. And when it was time to finish work, he'd put a message on there saying, "I'm just leaving work now. We put tea on." So it'd be lovely to find one of those pages that the first editor of CFAX sent out. That'd be really good. But it's very, very difficult to come by old Teletext pages. I mean, the oldest one is from 30th of August 1975, which is about 11 months after Teletext first started, which was like, what was that, 21st September 1974, I think, when CFAX started. So it's a big year next year. It's 50th anniversary of Teletext next year. So we'll be back in Cambridge next year to do another festival.
Well, yes. So I was hoping with the archive, actually, I've got a new gauntlet for you to throw down, and you might have already had it. But John Oles mentioned that Robert Smith of The Cure sent in a recipe for carrot cake into the cookery pages.
Did he?
Yeah, and he's got the year as well, so it might be an idea. And he sent it in as Robert Smith.
Oh right.
Yeah, so there's Robert Smith of The Cure's recipe for carrot cake up there.
Ooh, have we searched for it on the archive?
I've not searched for it. I was going to see if we could find it today.
Because I haven't put everything of mine on there. There's loads of stuff I haven't uploaded yet, because it just takes time to do. So even if it isn't on the website, it might be on a hard drive somewhere.
Yeah, apparently he was a keen teletext man. So,
was he?
Oh yes, yeah. He would always go through it, and he was delighted to get his recipe up. So, but yeah,
I wonder if he follows. I've not seen him go past.
No.
If I get an interesting follower, I'll think, oh, that's good.
Yeah.
He's got like Brian Cox, the physicist. He's a follower.
Is he really?
Teletext fan, yeah. As well as Dave Gedge off The Wedding Present.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
Only two.
Well, there's a few more out there.
And Jim Cole.
Oh yeah, well. Yeah. Well, you're too kind. But yeah, no. Hopefully we get a bit of Robert Smith on that. That'd be a good
Smith
one
action.
Yeah, a bit of Robert Smith action. So so you're exhibiting here today. What have you got on display today?
I brought with me. Normally we've been recovering Teletext for a while, and you can play it back via Raspberry Pi and watch it as it was when it was broadcast. But this time, I brought with me the video to a recovery as well. So I recovered the video that was being broadcast, a TV picture, as well as a teletext, and I'm showing them at the same time. Now that's that thing has pretty cool. Well, on this occasion, it's the space shuttle launch, the first one in 1981, and so we've got the video in the background of that. But CFAX did a special thing, like an experiment, where they did a live commentary of the launch, and so they got information on what's going on with the launch, and then when the launch comes, it switches into subtitles mode, so they commentate in subtitles mode there, saying T-0 lift off, and then it just tells you what's happening. So I brought that with me, and that's running in the other room, as well as a digitizer.
So did Neil Armstrong tweet live from the moon then?
Yeah, that would be quite something, Dan. That would be quite something. Did they have internet on the moon?
They had it way before us.
They had no atmosphere.
Hey,
But you could have gone up there on SpaceX.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
see it on the Twitter. So it's
absolutely.
brilliant. Well, look forward to seeing all that. Definitely, that's for sure. No one leaves the show empty-handed. Does anybody have any more questions for Jason before he gets his bottle of Fanta?
I have a question.
Oh.
What is the rudest word you have found in all of the recoveries you've made?
Oh, God.
Can you even say it?
Well, I don't know. My favourite one is, well, because when we do Teletext recoveries, it's pretty good. Depending on the tape, depending on how old it is, etc. The recovery quality is pretty good. So you can get the odd mistake in the letter where the recovery hasn't quite worked, where it's got its imperfections. But I think my favourite one is Yorkshire. The word Yorkshire. It sometimes will change the R, the second R in Yorkshire, to a T. So I think that's my favourite one.
Is that Lancashire text, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, well, you should have heard some of the words I was saying trying to get you on the phone earlier, Dan. That would have been you'd have heard some interesting words there. So it's brilliant. Well, I tell you what, thank you very much, Jason, for being a guest on the Teletext Sofa Club Harrow Arts Edition. Thank you very much. I think he deserves a big round of applause.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
And as no one leaves empty-handed, your customary bottle of a Nigerian Fanta.
Why is it Nigerian Fanta?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Jason, because as you appreciate the bottle there, it's the tastiest Fanta, and I believe it's the same in Brazil as well. Okay, so it's but this is our Fanta.
Oh, it's in a plastic bottle as opposed to glass.
Bottle, and for those watching in black and white, they're two different colours. But that's lovely. It's got like a Satsuma sort of taste to it.
It tastes different.
Yeah. Also, another thing you'll notice about it is on the bottle it just says it's for beverage use only, so you can't siphon out some petrol and use it for that. So it's
that's a shame. That's my afternoon plans out the window.
lovely. But you can stay there if you like, and while I bring out my next guest.
Right, you are.
Okay, so I think the cleaning lady's gone. And I think it might be... No, it's still not there. No, welcome along, Steve Horsley! Right. Just be careful. There you go, you've cracked it.
Thank you.
That's it, well, welcome along. Steve Horsley. Everybody knows Steve. Does anybody not know Steve? Okay, right, so for the benefit of everyone who doesn't know Steve is probably, I think, one of an archetypal artist on Teletext. You'll notice a lot of his work online, but I'm not here to blow smoke up his backside. He's here to tell us all about his own story. So what I'd like to do today, Steve, is just ask you a few questions, but I'm going to try and do it in a way that you've not been asked them before. Okay, so I've got some things here. So, first of all, Steve, I just wanted to really sort of, thanks for coming along, and I wanted to really know about sort of like your first experience of Teletext, not necessarily working for it, but do you remember your first memories of using it?
I wasn't a huge Teletext fan initially, but yeah, it's really just those. It was the film. What was coming out? There was the film reviews, and it was the art and watching the cartoons or seeing the cartoons on there because I love the art. But it wasn't something I used all the time. Subtitles occasionally, but I felt even when I sort of moved into it and started doing it, I still didn't use it all the time, which is really strange because most people are huge fans. And I think that's half the trouble, jumping ahead here now to when I worked at Teletext, is I never appreciated it. I just did, it was just a job. And now looking back at it, I regret that I didn't appreciate what we were doing. And it was just a job because since then I've done, like it's pointed out, like nearly 4,000 pictures I think have gone on file at the moment. Yeah, it was just basically film reviews and the art. That was basically it.
Well, I mean, that's absolutely fair enough. I speak to many journalists who just sort of used it just as a job to do, and they've done a really good job just doing it that way around. You could say that perhaps if they did get too involved with it, they perhaps wouldn't have come up with something as as objective, just seeing as it is and bringing it out. Because when you were going into Teletext, were there many other people that you were looking at, like luminaries or anybody else you were getting inspiration from?
Just Biffo.
Just Biffo.
Just Biffo,
Yeah.
Because before I worked at Teletext, Biffo got me a job when he left Labrooks. I took over from him there. And that was my first sort of look at Teletext. And even though it's very different to Teletext, doing the art there, it was a big jump going from Teletext or a Labrooks system to the Teletext system. There was so much more we could do with the Labrooks system. But again, I went in without doing I've never done it before. I used to sit next to Biffo. We were into school together. And, for the high school, so from sort of 13, we were best friends, and we sat in art class together and wound up the art teacher because we wouldn't do anything that he wanted. And, his style, our styles are very similar, our humour is very similar, and then we just sort of, hit it off. For some reason he came to me and just said, "Do you fancy taking this over?" And I was working at Harrow Council at the time, just in the engineering department, so I quit the job straight away and jumped over to Labrooks, which was great. And I was freelance on there for about 2 years, and then the lottery came out. When the lottery came out, they made massive cuts, including the graphics. They had so much library. So that was the end of that.
Right, okay. Yeah, so the one thing I noticed about the Labrooks system, when we were watching it last night with the montages of the animated horse in real time, you could do that. And also there appeared to be more colours. It seemed to be like, so it was a bit of a shock going over to Teletext from that.
I think you could actually mix colours as well. So you could have colour blocks with the two different colours, so you could actually make it look different. So it sort of doubled the colour schemes as well. There was a lot more colours and shapes you could use. It was, I guess, a lot more like Teletext Level 2, which, but way before. I guess because they didn't have to broadcast it in the same way. They could use their own technology.
Yeah, I can imagine there's less technological limitations for that, that's for sure. So, I mean, you're a particularly techie guy at all in?
I'm still in IT.
Yeah. So one thing I've been asking a lot of people recently is, do you remember your first ever tech that you used to use when you were perhaps a kid, or the first thing that fascinated you? What was that?
Oh, Commodore PET. My dad brought home a Commodore PET, and it was the best thing ever. And it was before we had the Commodore 64, before we had any other computer. I didn't have a Spectrum or a games machine, and my dad still tells me now he was fascinated. I could sit down there and program a game before we'd even had anything, just a simple game, but it would work. And I loved it. The trouble was we then got the Commodore 64, and I started playing other people's games and stopped making my own.
Oh, I see. Yeah, so it sort of killed off a bit of creativity there, I guess, and that. Yeah. So the PET was the one with the inbuilt monitor
cassette player in it. And you could just lift it up and you could see all the insides.
The bonnet. Lift the bonnet.
He recently sold it to a computer museum. They bought it from him.
Oh right.
So I wanted it back and he wouldn't let me have it. So he got rid of it.
Well, we've got to find you a PET at some point then, definitely. So how did you get you said that Paul got you the job at Labrooks to backfill his role, otherwise he couldn't move on, basically. Then when Labrooks finished and you wound up at Teletext, I mean, can you explain how that happened?
No. I was thinking about it yesterday. I was thinking, how did I end up at Teletext? And I can't remember. I honestly can't remember. I know when I got there it was because Paul was doing all the graphics, but he wasn't doing the advertising. Yeah. And they needed a designer to do the graphics for the holiday pages and everything else, because he was doing everything else. I think he was doing everything maybe initially, and then it was just too much with Digitizer as well.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just, maybe he just recommended me, and it just came in. I don't remember a time where I went straight from Labrooks to Teletext, and I don't remember a time not doing anything in between, so it was obviously seamless. It worked out really well.
Yeah, no, that's good.
But again, it was a job. It was going there. I was really enjoying it. It was a lot of travelling because I lived in North Harrow, and Rayners Lane is where Labrooks was, so it was just 5 minutes there. And then I started working in Fulham, and then I had to go on the tubes every day, and it was like, then I started getting, it was very different.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I was doing just all the adverts, all the graphics for all the adverts, all the holiday pages, everything that wasn't editorial.
Yeah. So what was Fulham like to work in? Was it like a hotbed of like gossip and things like that, or was
What, as in the area, or just?
Well,
the
just
office?
where you were, because I think Biffo mentioned yesterday that it was like it was an old converted transport.
Yeah, it was great. There was the cafe he was talking about as well was called the Casbah, and that was great. Had some great breakfasts there, and I did like my food. So that was a highlight. It was just having lunch.
Yeah.
But it was a great building. It was converted in, that I don't remember the photograph you saw yesterday.
Yeah.
That was the editorial section, was all upstairs.
Yeah.
And then you could look down and basically where everybody would have their meetings, and there would be a kitchen, and then underneath there you had the IT department, and then you had the advertising department, and they were just tucked away on the ground floor in the corner.
Yeah.
Even though it was the big thing, I think that obviously adverts were keeping it going.
Yeah,
But it was a third of the size of the editorial team.
Oh, right.
And when I started working, it was great, because I'd work up there with Paul. I'd be in the desk opposite. I'd watch them work and watch Digitize being put together and everything else, and just the chaos. And it was amazing. And then I was relegated downstairs, and it's like I miss all that stuff upstairs. Everybody's so sensible down there.
Yeah.
It was like a different world. It really was.
You were put down there just to keep you on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
So has anyone got any questions out in the field there for Steve at all? So that's fine. I think we have one. Dan from Wigan. Yes.
Hi, Dan.
Hello, all the way up here in sunny Wigan. Look, I've got my ring light on anyway, so that's close enough. So, Steve, you mentioned remembering the old Teletext cartoons in your formative years. But do you remember what those were? And in hindsight, do you think you were somehow subconsciously influenced by those sorts of styles?
The sad thing is, I can't remember what they were, because it's 30. My memory's not that good these days, honestly. But I know when I started watching what Paul was doing, then obviously I was a lot older then, and looking at Turn of the Worm and Turn of the Screw and all that. The art just absolutely captivated me. I mean, Paul's artwork always has. We'd sit there in art class together and we would just do stuff, and it'd be so simple. His artwork, I've still got a lot of his art from school, because it's just, I always found it absolutely amazing. He drew comics, and still got copies of the comics at home. I won't get rid of them, they're just too good. And I always wish he carried on drawing. His art is, obviously his writing's amazing, and he's influenced a lot of people over the years, but his art, again, is just something second to none. And I see the knife there, which is one of the original Bubblegum, because we did Bubblegum during Teletext, I think, the Bubblegum website.
Oh.
So that was quite a big project.
Oh, right, okay.
And
so what was that project about? Can you tell us more about that?
It was basically Digitizer, but on a web page, on a website, and we had a big website, and it was just the two of us working on it. It's nearly 99% his work, and I just did everything, behind the scenes.
A little bit of modesty there, I'm sure.
He just produces so much work, and every day we'd have updates and put new pages, new top tens, and new comic, snakes on there, or different characters. All the Digitizer characters, they're still on there. The website's still there.
I was going to say, is it still available? So
bubblegum.com.
Bubblegum.com, there you go. So that's canon now, that's part of the Digitizer universe.
Yeah, so much it is the same, and it was, obviously it hasn't been updated for 20 years, but it's still there.
Oh.
But yeah, we sold a load of t-shirts, and it's so nice to see another one still there. It was, so we did that together as well. That was at the same sort of time as Teletext.
Yeah. So with the Teletext then, was there, like you say, it's a job. What was what's the worst bit of art you had to do? We know how good your art is, but what was the absolute stinker?
I enjoyed it all, and then after about 6 months of the same things, it just lost its appeal. I started then doing there's no real stinker. It's just palm trees and boats and planes and suns, and every single day for months on end. It just was a little bit demoralising eventually. And I think because I had a young family and I wanted to get home, so I didn't really stick around doing other stuff. And it was just adverts, can you put together the new holiday prices and make sure you can fit a brand new plane in there? And then it was like, that was it. Unfortunately, after I moved down from the editorial down to the advertising, that's all it was. And it was, again, it was a little bit demoralising, and I sort of lost any sort of passion I had for it. Yeah. But again, this is something I'm looking back now and realising I shouldn't have done, but I tend to sort of perhaps lose interest in things.
Oh no, that's fair.
But I did go from there to work at an advertising agency and just doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So I went to work for a called Comrade Advertising,
right.
And their main business was teletext adverts because they could outsource adverts to different companies.
Yeah.
And we had all the same system and all the same software, and but that was that was a year and a half, 2 years of.
I just wanted to ask, did you get any out of the ordinary requests for the holiday advertising or anything or something that wasn't holidays? Like, I don't know, a lawnmower. Do you remember doing stuff like that?
Do you know, the only two, funny, recently was those, I think, did you put them up, computer game adverts for good games? There was like 3DO games. I'm sure you recovered them recently. They were put online and said, somebody asked if I did them. And I said no. And then remembered with Paul's help that I had done them. And they were just so out of the ordinary. They were 3DO games. It was like, one was a tank and there was like a giant mech, and that was like the best thing. But I can't remember, I can't believe I actually forgot I did them. And it was only after I was looking at it for like 10 minutes, I think, that's looking familiar now. And because everything was just, again, palm trees and sunsets, and then suddenly there's something a little bit different. But I forgot it because there was just so much other stuff.
Is that what they on there?
So looking back at those artworks now, it's quite difficult to recognise your own style. Whereas these days, I'd argue anybody could look at any of your works and say that's a Horsenberger piece. But it is interesting that you say that if you looked back, I know it's been 30 years or whatever, but if you looked back on those pieces, it must have looked a lot different back then. And in fact, actually, I can see the evolution of your style from when you came back to the Teletext art community, maybe 7 or 8 years ago. I can see it's become, there was a bit simplistic at first, but then more and more you developed your own new style, I guess, that's completely different than what we saw in the 90s. So my question is, I'm not sure.
No, I agree. I was just about to say that. I mean, the teletext is such a limited medium. You've got 7 colours, and you've got 80 by 48 pixels, not all of which can have an individual colour, and yet teletext artists can impose their own style on that. It's quite something that, in such a limited medium, you can tell who's drawn the picture.
Yeah, I've tried to move into more. I try to see how much realism I can get to a lot of the art. Because I think Paul did an amazing thing with simplicity. Just a few pixels can make an amazing picture. So I was trying to see, can I do the whole page and try to make something as realistic as possible? And I think looking at my work, it probably is more that, like portraits of people, trying to make them look like the actual person.
Yes. Yeah. And it's great because it has its own character and style, which is wonderful. Like the Santa Clauses you did for probably Teletext holidays, I think about those all the time. Yeah. Santa Claus on the beach and the snowmen on the beach. Yeah. I loved those.
Yeah, that was quite good. I always enjoyed Christmas because there was always a bit more to do. A lot of the what they call the pages in between the main pages, I can actually go and do a full page of just reindeer and Santa, or Santa sitting by the fireplace, and all those things. And it was once a year. That was it.
Did you do the advent calendars on Teletext?
I think I might have done part of some bits and pieces, some elements, but because a lot of the stuff we could put into libraries, so you could save, do a picture, a small picture, bit of graphics, clip art basically, and then you could just grab it and import it.
Yeah, I think it's quite funny because, like, the moment you think of Christmas, you always think of red, white, and green in Teletext. But when you're thinking of the summer, you're thinking of blue, white, and yellow, aren't you? So it's quite lucky they got some colours there. Yeah, just sure.
Shame there was no orange. That would been
oh, I know. Well, yeah, well, Ladbrokes had orange.
They did have orange, yes.
That's really good. So yeah, you mentioned your work now, and you challenge yourself. You push yourself really hard to get as much detail in as you can. But I'm just wondering from a creative point of view, and I tend to ask this to a lot of creative people. You know, where do you where do you keep getting your ideas from? I mean, is it how do you get the inspiration for these things?
It did slow down. But I started looking at. I'd pick something would happen. There'd be something. I'd always keep an eye on the news. If somebody decides to die, very unfortunately, I'd see if I can get a picture out, as quick as possible. If somebody else is in the news or something's happened, I'd maybe try to do that. And then if there was nothing in news, I'd pick a character and then maybe do a series of all the characters, like the Father Ted characters, and just try to carry on with the series. But after a few thousand, it is difficult. I keep asking suggestions. People give me some great suggestions, but some of them are just, I can't do that.
Thanks very much for joining us, Steve. It's been really good. And can you share any secrets with what's happening on tonight's show?
No, I know nothing what's happening. The trouble is, I live in Devon. It's too far. I used to come down and get involved a lot, but this year it's just been a bit crazy, trying to sell the house and everything else and the new job, and I just haven't been able to come down and get involved, so it's all a surprise for me.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we enjoy it like the rest of us, that's for sure. Well, no one leaves this show empty-handed. What does he get, ladies and gentlemen?
Nigerian Fanta.
What was that, Dan?
Fanta.
Oh, hello. He's just only just come on the stream.
That's amazing. Do you know, I just gotten back from Kenya and Uganda, literally earlier this week, and we were fascinated by the colours of the drinks.
Yeah.
And Fanta especially. We'd go into every shop and we just stare at the Fanta. So to actually have a bottle is amazing.
That's all yours to keep.
Thank you. I won't ever open it.
Oh, I was going to say, I've got a button opener if you want to open it now. That's it. No, that's all yours. And you'll probably find in a power cut, it will light the way.
Yeah. It's one of those things from, Fallout?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it, yeah. Well, we could just say it's 20 years old and he'll drink it tomorrow, wouldn't he? So that'd be quite good.
Why are you giving Teletext people something that's orange?
Well, this is part
That's
of it.
why, isn't it?
Yeah, he's subversively giving orange things to people with the limited colour palette. You're lucky it's not Commodore 64 for them. So, okay, well,
thank you.
That was a little joke there for the retro people. Okay, well, thank you very much, Steve. You can stay there if you like, but I've now got another guest to bring on. So, a big round of applause, please, for Steve, the Horsenberger Horsley.
You stay?
Thank you, mate. Cheers. Thank you. Cheers. Okay, you got to go back through there, are you? That's it. All right. Get. Oh. Iron Blue. Is that Iron Blue Extra? Lovely. Thanks. Okay then, sir. Lovely. Thank you very much. Cheers. Lovely. Thank you. Well, to wrap up today's show, we have one extra guest who accidentally volunteered themselves. So without any further ado, we need to know what went into the effort of last night's show. So bringing up Super Page 58 himself. Round of applause. Hello. Just counting me bottles of Fantas. Looks like you're going to have Stuart Ashton's bottle of Fanta.
What a privilege.
We're in trouble now. Lovely. Well, no, thanks very much for coming on. And I think low-hanging fruit. I think everyone really enjoyed the show last night.
Oh, and thank you.
And like, from my point of view, just seeing the testimonies you managed to get. I mean, that was very. How did you manage to do all that?
All credit to everyone that I approached, because everybody was up for it. Apart from the two people that Biffo said, go for the people that really hate me. Like, if you really want to do it. So I thought, well, I'll ask them, just in case, but not sure the tonal shift, if it's really going to sour things. So he gave me the contact details for the sub that used to cut entire pages that he wrote for no reason, and was the one that called him to tell him that the humour was being cut and he had to do half as much work. So he gave me his details, and he gave me the details of someone in Tim Moore's first book. He referred to it as the evil features editor, and an important Australian. So I got in touch with both of those, and they blanked me. So yeah, probably for the best. But everybody else, they really stepped up and did an absolutely cracking job. And I just gave them the brief, like, it's Panto, Biffo's the villain. We're going to put him on trial. It's a show trial. We want to find him guilty, basically. And they came through. There were people that he hadn't been in touch with for years that I was able to track down, and they were just full of praise and fondness for him still. And the Teletext days and really forthcoming. Dave Hunter, who was the music editor of the first music section, he used to hang around with Biffo and Hares a lot, and used to get involved in all the pranks, and like I say, he had a lot of memories about that. And he did a lovely video, did all the editing himself and everything. And I didn't even ask for any of that. I was just thinking it'd be like a head to camera kind of thing, and I'd have to just chop it up a bit. But he did this brilliant kind of sinister video and dropped all his graphics in and stuff and effects. And so many of them others did. Ashens did an amazing one we put at the start as well, X-Files conspiracy theory kind of thing. And even the guys that did the simple ones, they just were great sports and not poking fun at themselves and stuff. Everyone had a really good sense of humour. And I managed to get some people that last minute that didn't expect. Like there was a regular letter writer that used to write in Anthony Skelton, and I tracked him down on a fruit machine forum. Because
how does that work?
Well, he linked to Super Page 58, and I found the link because my day job, I'm an SEO, so I got to see the links to pages, and I saw like this link to him. It's like, on this site I'm still referred to as Bones, and he's like had a link to the A to Z on there. It's like, what is that, Anthony Skelton? So I followed it, and it was a fruit machine forum he'd been posting on. He'd written this post about the Amiga, and so I had to join the forum. I posted a message there, Anthony Skelton, please contact me. We're doing this thing for Digitize's 30th, and he waited a month to contact me, and like he gave me a video finally this week, and he was like, I wish I'd contact you sooner. I'm really happy about being involved with the 30th and everything. But yeah, people have been great sports about it. They really got into the spirit of it, and I'm just glad it went down so well, because you never know, and this isn't what I do. So yeah, and for Biffo to put his trust in me to an hour of his show as well. So yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah, very very happy to have been invited to do that, and it went down as well as it did.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was really good. It's quite moving at the end actually when Graham Lovelace came on, which was someone that Paul doesn't really refer to much because he was the boss, and but it was interesting to have the boss come out and actually defend Paul. Well,
when Biffo talks about him, for instance, on Games of My Years, his memoirs that he wrote on Digitize 2000, he refers to those times as being a struggle for Digi, because he was seen as being wayward, and like there was some conspiracy to pull him away from Digi and to get him to do the graphics again rather than working on that. So his desk was moved into Graham's office so that he could watch over him. I mean, literally, sat next to each other. So he had to sneak in doing Digi in Graham's lunch break and that kind of thing. So it's still being done, surreptitiously, just under the radar. But Biffo said since then that he always feels that Graham he would have been really friendly with and got on well with if it hadn't been for the fact that he was his boss at the time. But when I approached Graham, I said, we're doing this trial, we're looking for prosecution witnesses, we're just going to roast him basically. And he said, yeah, I'll do it, but I want to be a defence witness. And he was adamant about that. So he sent me a script that he was going to read, and I was like, this is good. But then when he put the video together, it was like a mini documentary. It was absolutely went to town with all these clips and photos and all this archive material that he clearly had still. And yeah, it was fantastic. But it will never be seen again because he's put it full of copyrighted material and has said, don't ever put this on YouTube. So if you were there last night, you've got a one-off there. It's never to be seen again.
No, it was brilliant. No, it was really well put together. So with the with the show itself, was it something that Paul always had in mind that you were going to provide something that he didn't know about, or was this an idea that came along later?
It kind of evolved really, because what he initially came to me with was an idea about digitising history, and he wanted the first night to be looking back at classic Digi, and he felt that an interview format had already been done. He's been interviewed a number of times now over the years, and he's like, I don't want to retread the same stories in the same kind of format. And I interviewed him last year for Digi Level 2, which was the first episode that went out at the start of the year. So it would have been a retread of questions essentially, and it's always good fun doing that. And a live setting is even better. But I can understand why you want to do something fresh. So we were just kind of thinking, how can we do the history thing, but with a different angle? So I just suggested the trial of Mr. Biffo, and he said, "That's a good idea. Why don't you do it?" Like in classic Digi style, or with John Holmes saying, "Yeah, all right, you do it then." I thought, fine, okay. All that involves is talking to people and asking. But then he said, "Yeah, I want you on stage as well. I want you to write it." What? So it was very much a say yes to things kind of thing and get out of your comfort zone. Not the kind of thing I would choose to do, but when you're presented with the opportunities, don't pass them up. Glad I did. Glad I did it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Paul Gannon was glad that you did as well.
Wasn't this song great though?
Did you write the song?
No, he did. No, he wrote all that. Yeah, that was a this week thing as well. He was like, "God help me, I'm going to sing a song." That's how I'm going to close the show. But Sanya was going to do a reply song as well, and I don't think there was time at the end. We were meant to swear him in on a copy of Mean Machines. I actually bought a copy of Mean Machines with Sonic 3 on the cover.
You were asking for one. Yeah, you were asking for one on the internet, weren't you, from Mean Machines?
Yeah. But we just short on times, Digi. I think these things happen, but it was cracking, and seeing the next sphincter tossed out into the audience because he didn't know anything about that. Because when Mr. Hares sent his video and had the whole thing about the next sphincter and like hissing out of it, and like, I'm gonna just say, can you make one? I didn't tell him any of the details or who was talking about it. So like, can you make this? And like, all right, well, what is it? Okay, yeah. Then we had this Zoom call to like do a production meeting, and he's like, I've made your neck sphincter, and I held it up, and there's this huge thing. He's like, I was just thinking this tiny thing to stick on the back of your neck. It's like this dangling thing, like some kind of body horror thing, like an 80s rapper would wear. It was just insane. Yeah, and so he came out with it all underneath his clothes, looking like you had breast augmentation. It was unbelievable. But John White of the Many Questions fame from the letters page caught that in the end, so souvenir for him.
Yeah, it was a nice little bit of serendipity for something like that to get it actually. So that was brilliant. So
it worked out well.
Yeah, no, it worked out really well, and it marked a really good 30th great landmark.
30 years. Yeah. I mean, you've got to mark it somehow, haven't you? It's a big moment.
Oh, absolutely. But this is where it more comes on to to the side that you've been doing. How long have you been doing the website for?
25 years.
25 years.
Yeah, 1997.
So with the show trial for you in 5 years' time.
Yeah. It's crazy because when I look back at it, Digi seemed like it had been going for a while at the time, but it was only 5 years. Thinking about it, because Digi started in 93. I started the site in December 97, so nearly 5 years, and it was long enough established that there was a lot to talk about there, and obviously it had the love and the knowledge, so I thought I'll do this thing, but to thought then that actually we would go on to have another 5 years, and actually a lot of what people remember about Digi came in the second 5 year period. The Snakes, Mr. T was a more frequent character. Man's Daddy returned in a big way. The Rapping Shoe, all of that stuff was after, and now I think back, it's like, this is all classic material that we were actually able to watch develop. Mock Mock. So we recovered the first ever Mock recently with the mutant swan crying out because somebody had said, I haven't seen a swan for a while. Can we have a swan? Yeah, perhaps you'll see a swan. Mock. So it's been a joy really. I had no idea that it was going to develop the way it has. It's crazy to think now that when I rebooted it in 2018, since then we've recovered over half of Digi, and I've actually been updating for Super Page 58 for longer now than I did originally when I launched it, because I stopped it when the humour stopped. So December 97 to September 2001, and so that period, and then one more update when it had its final audition and Alex Garland did his tribute, so I put that up there. But then it went on hiatus for a long while, just froze it, just kept the site up, and that was it. I forgot about it essentially. And then in 2016, Cambridge Block Party and Digifest happened, and I've realised that Biffo was back. Had no idea before that, and the whole world of teletext recovery opened up, and I was amazed, couldn't believe that we were somehow able to see this stuff again. And as the 20th birthday of Super Page 58 approached in December 97, I just thought I should probably do something about this. It's time to bring it back, and really glad that I did.
No, absolutely. So when you started the whole web page up originally, you were completely unaware of any potential teletext recovery that could happen.
It was impossible. It was thought impossible at the time. We probably knew that the signal was being recorded on VHS, but it was too poor quality to be able to view. All we had was captures from TV cards. And even then, that was all a bit of a grey area around copyright. There was a lot of reluctance in the early days of the Digi web community to put screenshots up because of a lot of fear of what teletext would do. Because in the early days, I had a cease and desist from the publishers of the Bluffers Guidebooks, because the Digi A to Z was originally called the Bluffers Guide to Digi, and I had this threatening letter from an American lawyer with a double surnamed name, saying that people could mistake this for an official Bluffers Guide product. It's like, really, do you think? That's why that name changed. But there was a lot of caution around putting stuff up. There was a site called Teletext Graphics on the web, so I stole a lot of stuff from them, and I thought if they're doing it, then I'll take it too. And then eventually another site, Moleman, came along, DigiMeDo, and that was screen grabs of pages, which was brilliant at the time. But now you look at them, they're really low res. And it's just incredible to think how the technology's come along. We've got these huge high res for teletext images now that we're able to put up in the archive. And I'm updating the site twice a month now at this point, and we're at nearly 50,000 pages of Digi. 1,637 I think editions we're up to. There must have been something like 3,000 broadcasts. So, I mean, from going to nothing to over 50%. In 4 years is just mind-boggling. That I'm taking my hat off to the community for the work that they do to just process this stuff. And there are people that enjoy doing the recoveries, there are people who enjoy cleaning it up, and I enjoy archiving it. So it's like there's a whole process there. The chain is complete, and everyone kind of gets together and it's a community spirit, and everyone's doing it out of public service and love for the medium, really. And people have said to me over the years, "Oh, why didn't you put a coffee up or put advertising on your site? And it'd be nice that you get money from it." I said, "Not why I do it. Just do it for the love, just to have it archived and there for posterity for future generations." Who knows how long this is going to be relevant for, and people are going to care. But for now, while there are people that care, it's there, and it'll be there for as long as I can make it.
No, absolutely. And that's thrown up a couple of questions really with me, is the fact that you don't realise how much work that Paul actually did. I mean, if we're recovering like 3,000 odd things, he's done a hell of a lot. And also, when you started the service again, was Mr. Biffo actually in the loop at any time at all, or are you just doing it sort of separately of him?
Not at first, but it didn't take long, because it started out as just a really simple uni assignment, not a major one that had marks on it or anything, but just like, make a website, you've got 2 weeks to go away, anything you like, do it. And I was just thinking to myself, what can I do a website about? And I was like, about a digitizer. Be nice to put some memories on there and that kind of thing. And they had their official website at the time, which had nothing on it really apart from an archive of reviews. So okay, well I can grab some quotes from there, and I can then talk about the characters and some of my memories of what's happened over the years. So it was pretty basic to begin with. And so I didn't tell anyone about it. It was just something I was doing at uni. But then my sister, who used to write to Digi occasionally as well, she wrote a letter with the address to Biffo saying, "See love for Digi here." And then like a couple of days later, I got an email from him, and and he's just been very supportive ever since. Really, he's obviously a hero of mine, and I credit him with my writing style. I've learned so much about how to do good writing. Steve was talking about his artwork earlier, and his artwork's incredible. We know this. His writing as well, and not just the long form stuff, but the short bursts on Teletext. He just really knows how to craft it and knows what goes into a page, and to write a narrative and to grab you and to subvert your expectations and all that sort of thing. So that was inspiring, and so to have this guy that I looked up to talking to me as a peer almost, which was ridiculous, was a real honour. And I kept in touch with him. I did some stuff for Bubblegum initially in the early days, and went along to his leaving party for Teletext in 2003, and that was a pleasure to be invited along to. It's been great to get back in touch with him since his return and just see how well he's done in the intervening years, because man's genius as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely, and any sort of like hints on tonight? Are you involved in tonight in any way at all?
I've got nothing to do with tonight, and I'm quite glad of that, because it's as great as it was to do last night. It's just be lovely to go as a punter tonight and just have all the surprises that everyone else is going to have, and just see it all take shape, because I'm sure we're in for a bit of a ride. So no idea what's happening. All I know is that the Venus will be involved.
Well, there's definitely going to be looking forward to that. So, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks,
and again, thanks very much for everything, all the effort that you put in yesterday.
Pleasure.
With the show. It really, really did send it off nicely. So nobody leaves empty-handed on this show. What does everybody get?
Nigerian Fanta.
Orange.
Thank you very much, Dan. There you go. So, with that, sir, thank you very much. A big round of applause for our final guest, Super Page 58. It's like Stockholm syndrome, really, you guys. We've really got to know each other with today's little sofa club. So thank you very much for coming along and listening to me drone on. But most of all, a big hand to all our guests. So a big round of applause wherever they are. And yeah, the canteen. They're back in the green room then, so they're all sorted there. So and thanks very much to Dan as well, who's in the corner there. Big round of applause to Dan, please. A big thank you to the people who were putting the whole Chunky Fringe on. The gentleman at the back there, if you want to just stand up and take a round of applause, please. A big thank you to the production at the back there who are doing the sounds, the vision and the lights. Thank you very much, Dan, and everybody else, keep it blocky. Thank you very much. The gentleman that I didn't mention by name in the recording was David Wolford, who was the organiser of Chunky Fringe, and again a big thank you to him, because without his efforts it wouldn't have taken place at all, so a big thank you to him. The recording was made by Ash Versus of Under Consolation, the GamesMaster Retrospective podcast. You can find him at Under Console Pod on X, Insta at Under Console, Threads at Under.console, and Twitch Under Console Pod. A big thank you for the recording on that. It was a lot of effort and it is much appreciated. A big thank you again to my guests, Jason Rich of the at Wolfie Pod, Jason Robertson of the at Grim Fandango, Steve Horsley at Horsenberger, Chris Bell at Superpage 58. Thank you for being wonderful guests. Remember, you can support the podcast at any time by leaving a like on your podcast platform of choice, leaving a review, If you feel that way inclined, you could always send us a Ko-fi, but that's completely up to you. It is only a hobby, so everybody gets the same benefits regardless of whatever goes on there. You can join the Discord to carry on the conversation, perhaps give me some ideas or share some of your own experiences, and maybe we could do a podcast about that in the future. So with all the housekeeping out the way, all that's left for me to say is that Bite High No Limit was presented by me, Carl and Dan Farriman, and is a Bite High No Limit production. And until next time, keep it blocky.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.